What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. So since our last episode, we already have new information for the upcoming film 28 Years Later. We have our first official poster, and there has already been a 13-second teaser trailer released as well, which supposedly, when decoded, tells us that we should expect a full trailer here within the next few days, sometime middle of next week. So fingers crossed that is actually true information. But let's take a look at the information that comes along with this first poster that's been released. Danny Boyle is back in the director's chair for Sony's 28 Years Later, a long-awaited sequel to 28 Days Later that is intended to kick off a brand new trilogy of infection movies. Sony released the official poster for 28 Years Later today. Check it out below. From what we understand, the first two movies in the 28 Years Later trilogy have already been filmed. Boyle directs the first installment, while Anya DaCosta directs the second. Read on for everything we know about this epic franchise experience. 28 Years Later will be unleashed in theaters on June 20th, 2025 from Sony. Goes on, we've already talked about much of this already in previous episodes, even more so in our last episode where we did cover off on a recent story where Aaron Taylor Johnson did come out and confirm that the castings, like himself, Cillian Murphy, will not be the focal points of the story. It's actually going to focus on a young child that is the new focus, the new lead, so to speak, for this new trilogy that's going to be coming out. As I mentioned in the last episode, I find that rather disappointing, especially since we've been wanting Cillian Murphy to come back since the original film, 24 years ago, 24 years ago, somewhere around there. And we've been wanting him to come back, pick up the part that he played, which was Jim. Now, he is going to be playing Jim again. It's just a matter of how much he will actually be in this film. Supposedly he's in this one and the second one, but we don't know if it's a cameo. Now, there is a rumor that he is already infected actually, but he is evolved over time, and he is aware that he is Jim, but he is full on infected with the rage virus. But the rage virus itself for him has evolved, so he's not what we had typically would have seen in the last two original films. Fines recently previewed the plot as follows, and again, we've covered this in previous episodes. I'll put the link for this article in the description of this video so you can read through this again if you like. We've covered this off in previous episodes. So here's the poster. I think this is one of the best posters that we've seen this year for any film. If you look real closely here, you can see each one of these is a red skull that makes up this biohazard symbol. And then we have obviously 28 Years Later, and then coming down, time didn't heal anything. Theaters only, coming soon. Now, if you did notice one thing, and this was something many people have called out since this poster had dropped, was the castings up here. We have Jodie Comer, Aaron Taylor Johnson, and Ralph Fiennes. No mention of Cillian Murphy. And many people initially thought, wait a minute, wasn't Cillian Murphy supposed to be in this film? People initially jumped to the conclusion that Cillian Murphy was potentially removed from this film along with the sequel, because he's not supposedly in the third film. Now, there's no confirmation, there's no information, there's no news that he's been removed from the film. He's still very much a part of these first two, but again, it's just a matter of what role is he playing. I don't see him playing a big role. Even now, this pretty much kind of confirms that for me. If they're not going to put his name on the poster, they necessarily don't want to use his name to draw people in, to make them believe he's starring in it or he's playing a big role. Again, now that tells me it's probably just a cameo type situation. Might see him for the first 10-15 minutes of the film or somewhere in the middle, and that's going to probably be it until we see him again in the second film, where he probably will be retired from the franchise. So yeah, that's the poster that we've gotten thus far. I think it's a banger of a poster. Can't wait to get this first trailer next week. Hopefully we do get the first full trailer next week, because again, this is coming out June 20th, 2025. So middle of next year, summer blockbuster. Looking forward to this one. All right, so moving on to our next topic, the Gorge trailer. Anya Taylor-Joy and Miles Teller are international snipers united to take on a sci-fi villain. Now you're wondering, okay, if this is a spy film or if this is a sniper film, why are we talking about this? Science fiction horror is something we cover here at the Reign of Horror. And if we I did read the description of this a bit, so you'll understand why we're covering it as well. Sigourney Weaver also stars in the Black Phone, Helmer Scott Dickerson's Apple original film. So Anya Taylor-Joy is teaming up with Miles Teller to take on aliens, a serial killer. Who knows when it comes to the elusive The Gorge, the latest thriller from the Black Phone and sinister director Scott Dickerson. The Apple original film from Skydance Media centers on two elite snipers played by Taylor-Joy and Teller, who are stationed in watchtowers on opposite sides of a highly classified gorge. Taylor-Joy's character is Russian, while Teller's is American. Together, the duo must overcome international politics to safeguard the outside world from an undisclosed mysterious evil that lurks within the titular gorge. The official synopsis reads, they bond from a distance in a faraway land while trying to stay vigilant in defending against an unseen enemy. When the threat to humanity is revealed to them, they must work together in a test of both their physical and mental strength to keep the secret in the gorge before it's too late. Sigourney Weaver co-stars. Director Dickerson told IGN that, quote, The Gorge, quote, blends multiple genres. Now, this is, again, another reason why we're covering this. Romance, science fiction, action, spy thriller, and even horror to create an uncategorizable feature. Quote, the idea was to first invest a lot of time into the backstories and evolving the connection between the two characters played by Miles Teller and Anya Taylor-Joy, and then see them thrust into survival mode amidst the unrelenting and unpredictable dangers and mysteries of the gorge itself, Dickerson said. The Tomorrow War scribe Zach Dean wrote the script. The film is, and then we go on to who's all produced it. Again, some of the other things that Taylor-Joy and Teller have played in recently. Dickerson previously told IndieWire that his emphasis on horror in his filmography was a purposeful theme. Quote, my answer is always, horror art is not putting more horror in the world. It is putting a reckoning with horror into the world, Dickerson said. There's plenty of horror in the world. There's not enough reckoning with the horrific. There's not enough honest reckoning with the horrible. To me, horror cinema, horror literature, anything involving Gothic art is a way to tap into and reckon with the unspoken and unspeakable evils and threats of the world. Whether it's in fears, fear of ourselves, fear of the other, fear of the serial killer, fear of nature, what it can do, all of that. He added, the more reckoning we can have with the really terrifying aspects of human life, the healthier we are. I personally fantasize the idea that fans of horror movies have a kind of mental health that only they can have. The Gorge premieres February 14th on Apple TV. And I will agree with that quote. I personally fancy the idea that fans of horror movies have a kind of mental health that only they can have. I 100% agree with that. This does cover off again on a trailer was released. We will put a link in the description of this video to our trailer review and reaction for The Gorge. So make sure you go over there, check out our review and reaction of it, and make sure you give it a like as well. Comment there and tell us what you think of the trailer, but we will be covering that here following this episode. All right, so covering off on our final topic for today's episode. We've covered this topic. We've actually covered this broad topic very extensively. So this covers off on Twisted Childhood Universe's Pinocchio Unstrung has wrapped production. We've made no bones about it. We are a fan of these now becoming more public domain, old school Disney characters. We have the Poohverse, right? So we've seen Winnie the Pooh, we've seen Bambi, and we're getting Pinocchio, Little Mermaid. We've getting 2 Popeye the Sailor films. We're getting Mouse of Horror. So we're getting an abundance of these public domain characters with a horror spin on them. And now we've gotten confirmation, here it is, that Pinocchio Unstrung has wrapped production. The only thing we've seen of this thus far is some first still images from the film. We haven't received a teaser trailer or a full-blown trailer yet, but now that production has wrapped up, I would hope we will get whether it's a teaser or a full trailer here soon. So Rise Frake Waterfield's The Twisted Childhood Universe is expanding and is expanding soon. What started as an indie horror project in 2023 with Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey has now spawned multiple films based on classic children's characters, including a sequel to the first movie. Another upcoming feature in the franchise will be Pinocchio Unstrung, which began production in October earlier this year. Recently, Frank Waterfield took to Instagram to share a story with the announcement that production has wrapped on Pinocchio Unstrung, featuring what seems to be the official typography for the title of the film. The director has managed to turn classic level characters into horrific ones and has found a strong audience for the subgenre. It remains to be seen how Pinocchio's journey into becoming a real boy will be twisted into something horrific. We have the official confirmation from his Instagram wrapped, and then we have that Pinocchio Unstrung. Yeah, well, actually that's from his X account. I'm glad that we finally got confirmation this is done, because we've been looking forward to seeing a teaser trailer, a full-on trailer for this. Again, not all the characters I mentioned will be part of this universe. I know the Little Mermaid and both Popeye films, I believe, are not a part of this Pooh-verse, so to speak. We did cover previously that they are doing an assemble of these characters into one film next year as well, so be on the lookout for that. We did cover that in a previous episode, so make sure you check that out. Based on the first two movies in the universe, fans can expect a lot of gore and blood from Pinocchio. While plot details are scarce, the movie will follow a young boy, James, who learns of his grandfather Geppetto's deadly secret, a wooden doll, Pinocchio. The movie will also feature an actual fully practical doll designed by Emmy-winning artist Todd Masters. Speaking of what the feature is all about, Frank Waterfield previously said about the slasher, quote, "Our movie flips everything you know about Pinocchio on its head." Frank Wakefield said about the slasher, "We have an incredible talented cast and crew working on this. We have heavily relying on practical effects for all the deaths and creature work. I can't wait for the world to meet Pinocchio." I'll put the link for this article in the description below if you want to check it out further. We have here just the previous Pooh-verse movie that was released last year in early March. Very excited for this. Can't wait to see what more we can get from these characters. Many of us grew up with these characters as a very G-rated version, and I'm glad that they are now public domain, so we can see what creators can do with them and how they can transform them into a now horror version. So more to come on this. Once we have a trailer, we will be sure to bring it to you. All right, everyone, that's going to do it for today's episode. I appreciate you spending just a little bit of your day with me here at Reign of Horror. If you haven't done so already, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Let us know what you think about the 28 years later poster, and are you looking forward to potentially getting that first trailer later this week? Make sure to check out our review and reaction to the Gorge trailer. That should be uploaded here shortly after this episode. And let us know what you think about finally getting confirmation about Pinocchio Unstrung has wrapped production, and hopefully again we will see a trailer on that soon. All right, so that's going to wrap it up, and we will see you at the next one. Peace.